Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing some cooling hose replacements on the Zook. What happened was I was going to go get some supplies, some oils and wheel bearing grease and all that stuff for some upcoming videos. I've come back out to the car park after paying for the parts and then realized that the bottom radiator hose has sprung a leak. It was probably roughly about here. I'll insert the clip here. Uh-oh. Can you tell me where that's coming from? So in that clip you would have seen that it was kind of going for a wee on itself on the inlet manifold as it was shooting straight up underneath some coolant pressure there. So I've gone onto the old eBay and got onto some cooling hoses, just do the top, the bottom one as well, way down there, and obviously the main one, which you can see just past the alternator just up there. So that's our main one that's leaking up there. So I'll take all this stuff off and then we'll get some room into there and then try and get some hoses done. Alrighty guys, I've got the air intake out of the way. As you can see, these hoses, they are quite old. They are swollen. If you can see the difference between the hose clamp where it's clamped to the rest of the hose there. Hoses are a wear and tear item over time. I have replaced the other hoses on the vehicle quite some time ago, but I never ended up getting the heater hose, radiator hoses, top, bottom, and the one that's let go, that one down there. So I'll take a few of the hoses off and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about, the swollen and all that stuff there. Of course, just on a side note there, if you are going to be taking any coolant out of your vehicle, instead of just dumping one hose and losing all the coolant all in one go, some radiators do have a drain bung which all the way down there and something to catch it, so it does make it a bit easy to try and catch. It also does help having a 2-inch lift and some 31s, so heaps of room to get under there and take out the drain plug there. So I'll quickly get that done and we'll start taking hoses off. Alright, so I've just loosened off the drain bung there. As you can see, it's a drip there because A, either it's pretty low on coolant, or B, there's not a big hole in the cooling system. So loosen off that cap and then you'll see she starts to go a lot better again. So we'll let that drain, we'll have a beer, we'll chill out, and then we'll come back to pulling some hoses off. For any of you guys that were just wondering what tool I was using just before to get the top radiator hose off, I was using this snap-on hose remover tool. The idea is the point there will get in between the seal of the hose and the component that it's coming off from, like a radiator outlet or down there to join up to the back of the motor there. I'm sure other brands do make these type of tools. It doesn't have to be just a snap-on one. It just makes the life a bit easier trying to take those hoses off instead of smashing your knuckles in the engine bay. So I'll continue on with getting the rest of the hoses off there. Alright, so halfway there, just having a look, see that there's a bit of corrosion on these pipes here. So I don't have a replacement pipe, but what I'll do is I'll just clean it up the best I can and get another one on order and fix that component up on a later date. Alright guys, as you can see, I've got the culprit hose off. There's a tiny little pinhole there, if the camera can pick that up. That's a suspect hose. It's very soft right where this is, so just happy it was a little hole, not a major failure, which would have left me stranded on the side of the road there. So with all that said and done, we'll start putting on those new hoses there, and best part about this is we'll find out where the next leak's going to be. You repair one component and the coolant may or may not find a new spot to leak, so that'll be all part of the fun. Alright, with installing the new hoses, since there's such a difference, there's how swole these old hoses are. A bit of Ronnie Coleman swole. And compared to these new ones, obviously a lot better, a lot nicer. So they're going to be a bit tight to get on, so what I'll use is a bit of silicone spray that'll help it slide on, make the job a lot easier so I don't have to fight with much. Also, if you're not drinking some of the forbidden cordial, are you actually doing a coolant job? Let me know. Guys, just a note with the putting new hoses back on, so with the bulge just here, that's just the lip of the outlet for the radiator hose here. We always want to make sure that the hose clamps are just behind the lip there. So just picture if this was a metal component like what it is down here, for instance. If you were to have the clamp further here, you could have water potentially, as the pipe swells over time, coolant and water and whatnot can get behind the lip of the outlet there, and it could corrode right here, and it could break off there instead of where the coolant should be passing through, just in the hose just here besides the lip there. So just to bear in mind, always make sure you got the hose clamps pretty close up there to not promote any rusting or corrosion in future. So this would stop any components that would break off from here to go through the cooling system, causing a blockage and causing overheating problems down the road. Alright guys, so that's the cooling system, radiator hoses back together there. New components throughout there. I'll have to do something with that piece there, much like I was talking about corrosion and all that stuff going through the cooling system with this piece. That's actually a cause for concern down on this part here, as it does wear over time. So I'll have to track down a new piece and put that on at some point. So what I'm going to do now is put the intake system back on the car and put the coolant back into the radiator. I'll probably end up spilling the majority of it. Also, I'll do a little tip or a trick or whatnot for you. All you need to really is if you don't have a funnel or whatnot, you can use a drink bottle. We'll cut the top off it and we'll put some electrical tape around the end there, and we'll stick that in the radiator there. So realistically, the aim of the game is with this is just to lift our coolant as high as it'll go above any coolant source like your heater core and all that stuff. So there's no chance for an airlock. So this will be acting as a bit of pressure on top of the cooling system as well. So it'll help it burp and all that stuff. So you don't overheat the vehicle if you're not too sure about any airlocks. And depending on what type of vehicle you have, it is best to turn on the heater on hot, because some manufacturers have a heater tap in the cooling system, and if you don't bleed the cooling system with the heater on, that will act as a airlock in future. When you go to drive around, it will start overheating and all that stuff. So I'll modify this. We'll go spill some coolant all over the car, and then we'll try and bleed the coolant up on it. There's our little makeshift funnel here. Bit of electrical tape there, so stick it into the outlet there. We'll put a bit of pressure in there and make sure it sits in there nice. Try and create a good seal. We'll put some coolant in, we'll start it up, we'll bleed the cooling system, and we should be sweet to party. Now this is the coolant I'll be using just to top off the cooling system, not sponsored or anything. It's just what I grabbed from the local parts store there after I saw it leaking out. It is a premix, so I don't have to worry about any mixing. Just whack it in, set it off. We'll fill her up now. Alright, so the cooling system's all topped up. As top she'll go. A little bit of a leak, not too concerned. I've got the catch tray under there, so she'll catch all the drips there. I'm not too concerned about it leaking out of the outlet just here. It's more where the coolant hoses have just been replaced. So I'll start the car up and we'll test it all out. So we'll let it warm up, let it come up to temperature, and we'll bleed it. It's quite easy now with me having the fan on a switch, so I can lift the temperature right up and let it get right to operating temperature, which is about 85 degrees. So as you can see, all the coolant's now disappeared out of there, so it's all gone through the system. So I'll top it up and just keep going. So while the car's warming up, we do see some bubbles come up every now and again. That is just letting the air out of the system there, just getting all the the pockets of air out of the cooling system, so that'll help bleed the system, of course. So us having the coolant level so high, it'll get topped up in a moment, is obviously alleviating all those concerns of any potential overheat problems. As you can see, it is quite high. As obviously the temperature in the vehicle does rise, it will come up. So we want to have some sort of gap there, just to allow that thermal expansion, I guess, a big terminology there. The overflow bottle is chock-a-block, so I don't need to worry about topping that fella up anytime soon. So we'll just let it keep going. Holy dolly, get a look at this little fella. Hello, mate. Isn't he a surprise? A blue-tongued lizard. G'day, little fella. Look at this big dog I just found. While I was bleeding the coolant. Blue-tongued lizard. Have a go at him. I'll let him go in the garden. He can just hang around for a bit. But how cool. Bit of an oopsie moment there, guys. Dealing with the blue tongue there. I've accidentally had a bit of a coolant mishap there. The bottle came off and it spilled coolant everywhere and caused it to get a little bit hot. So I just fixed it back up, round two. Alright, so we've got the cooling system all bled up. I've now just put the radiator cap on. Just because the cooling system is bled doesn't mean that the hoses aren't loose. So with the radiator cap, one of two things, it's going to up the pressure compared to our just leaving it open to atmosphere, so to speak. And second of all, with, you know, one of the functions of the radiator cap is to up the boiling point of our cooling system, obviously not releasing any pressure there. So we'll kick the Zook back on, we'll let it come up to temperature again and see if we get the coolant hoses to not leak. Alright guys, I've got the cooling system currently just sitting under pressure at the moment on the Zook there. There is no coolant leaks or whatnot coming from it, from the hoses that I've repaired, as well as the other hoses on the vehicle there. So that is a success in my books. I hope you enjoyed the video so far. If it'd help great if you were just to, you know, like, subscribe, all the YouTube things that they want you to do. I do have another project line up, do some bibs and bobs on that. It's not another Sierra or anything, a little Mazda. It might be a, you know, a catch and release sort of situation there, depending on what I want to do with it and all that stuff in the future. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.